Greetings and welcome to another edition of Top 10 Worst Of Lists. The finest in worst of lists anywhere, as adjudicated and recognized by the top 10 worst of Verification Council of America, as being the not only the highest integrity of any top 10 worst of list, but also, this is a proud moment for me. I have been recognized as the top 10 worst of list announcer. My name is Willie Make It. I want to thank all the little people who made this possible. Top 10 worst of list is a tight-knit community, but very competitive in its own little way. And, I could be proud, especially for the guys behind the scenes who do all the heavy lifting, come up with the lists, a team of former clog dancing somnambulists who gather together with me at a Stuckey's on Route 87 in the parking lot and take copious doses of amyl nitrate mixed with children's Tylenol to come up with these lists. And it's a struggle. Trying to stay, informed about modern day emerging topics and controversial elements of our society, as well as, take a deeper, more expansive look at the troubles at large that have wound up creating so many of the inequities throughout our culture for so long. It's a burden, and it's oftentimes sort of like a duality where you feel like you're doing something good, but you also feel, sort of like you're getting your hands too dirty, like, you can't go back, you can't unsee what you see. Top 10 worst of list is the fact it's that impactful. Today's list is just a total freaking mind blower. I mean, I think that you're going to look back at the day that you heard this, to see this episode, and you think that, your entire life is going to be this demarcation point for your life from the before times, from the before four times, if you will, from when you saw this episode and from when you saw this episode. It's going to be that life-changing, life-reaffirming, perhaps. If we're doing our job, it will be. It's top 10 worst alternate uses for football teams. All right, now dig it. It's like, like football teams, right? They've got a 17-game season now, I think it is. And then they got some of them, 3 or 4 of them playoffs and stuff like that. And one of them goes into blah, blah, blahs. And so on. And then they got the Pro Bowl thing that they kind of squeeze in to, kind of rake in a little extra cash and give the guys the best of the league a little vacation out there and Honolulu's. And why not? I mean, do they still do it in Honolulu's? I don't even know. But anyway, so, but the thing is, that goes on for about, 4 months out of the year or something like that. September's, maybe a little longer, about 6 months out of the year. But that gives us 6 months to just kind of screw around, do nothing, and get into trouble. And you see a lot of these guys do get into trouble. And then they get the CTEs and stuff, and then they die, they drop dead like around 35 years old or something. It's a tragic life. I think that we could do better, because these guys are all big, brawny guys with lots of, torque in their musculatures, and they could be doing a lot of good stuff with themselves instead of just sitting around playing video games and knocking boots with the neighbor's wife. Why not come up with alternate uses to make the best out of their downtime, so they can do some good for society and not pay them? Don't pay them. Just have them do it for the sense of doing something for society. Society is look, any kind of sort of whatever you pick your poison when it comes to kind of trying to defrag a little bit from the worries and troubles and pressures of the world, and those goddamn freaking kids won't shut up for 2 seconds, and you think every single day, 2, 3, 4 times a day about just packing them in the minivan and driving it off the Hoover Dam or something, or driving it into the local water reservoir and just adiosing the kids. Don't tell me that you haven't thought of it. I know you lie. You lie like a dog. Like a dog lies down, like sleeping dogs awake, and that's part of where that, isn't that like how that where it came from? I don't know. Who cares? Nobody cares. Why should I make a big difference in the world? Or do you think all of a sudden like people are going to care just because I came up with a top 10 worst of list that nobody's allowed to see? Wait a second, I got a good sound effect. Let me introduce my sidekick co-host for today's show. It's super cheap / free sound effects console. That's what I usually get. Something like that is fairly typical for top 10 worst of list. Yeah, it's gonna get that kind of thing. It's gotta be able to have something kind of comic relief in these things. People are just gonna be like so completely despondent. That's not the point of top 10 worst of list. Top 10 worst of list might have worst of in the title, but that doesn't mean that we're looking to like impose a bunch of negative and depressing things onto people. I think top 10 worst of lists can be liberating because we're pointing out all the various different things in society that are set against us, like they're lined up against us to try to make our lives worse. The worst of the worst is that our society has been made to give us the worst that life could possibly be for everybody except, the billionaire robber parents. Of course, they're living high on the industrial hog farm. They get the hog farm, we get the industrial waste runoff. That's just the way it is. That's the worst of life. What I put up here, top 10 worst alternative uses for football teams, think about it. It's a design to sort of point out what the worst of alternative uses for football teams. If you could actually use football teams for something else besides football, you know what a boon that would be to our culture? People love those guys. Tom Brady, I bet he gets his weed whacked, his wick wet about making out with a stakeout about 3-4 times a day. And I'm not just talking about him and Troy Aikman in the showers after the broadcast. I'm talking about serious, bootylicious, awesome sauce all spilled all over Tom Brady. You know how Tom Brady likes his women? Hot, wet, and spilled all over his lap. But you think of what you could do with that power. Got my freaking hair already. I had it so primped and perfect. The God damn it. Oh, pardon me. So anyway, we can have these guys cleaning up neighbors, doing all kinds of stuff, but I don't want to step on my own material. Because I got it, a bunch of, me and the guys spent a lot of time on this one. Before you do that, I just want to make sure that you know that some of the stuff might not necessarily be 100% accurate. I'm a few fries short of a Happy Meal. You think? And so, I want to make sure that you all get a sense of your responsibility when you're interacting with not just me. I'm a nothing. I'm not out to really kind of do a bunch of nasty things to you, act like a partisan hack, and trying to win you over to the other side without you even knowing it, or play little games with you and humiliate you in front of millions of people on my video blog or anything like that. I'm not like one of those types of operators. I'm just like some guy who tried my very best to make the world a better place and try to kick the robber barons to the curb, or at least knee them in the balls. And so it's hey, but the thing is that a lot of people who are out there are doing everything that they can to try to it's time for the Rocky theme. Thank you. All right, so anyway, You've got a lot of people who are out there trying their very best to make everything seem awful and horrible and fill your life full of hatred. They passively aggressively take out their issues onto people all the time. They've got damaged goods inside their soul, and they're doing everything they can to make sure, because the only joy that they get is seeing good people suffer. And it's not really even through any fault of their own. It's just such a horrible goddamn world in so many ways that we need to be able to find, a way out of the worst of and convert that into being an empowering experience. And that's what I'm here for. And that's what I've been doing for 30 goddamn years. Oh my God, has it been that long? Oh God, somebody get this, take me to the funny farm. Oh, take me to, you know what farm I'd like to do? Hellacious Acres from the movie Stars Is Born, by the one, not the stupid one, the one with the Chris Christophersons. Like, those two songs that she does in that movie are so great. Watch Closely Now and Hellacious Acres. It's great stuff, man. I don't particularly like Chris Christopherson, but I recently saw what's that semi-tough movie, and it's a fun movie. It's got a lot of things that be cancel cultured up the yin yang for. I'd probably get cancel cultured for just saying that it's an interesting movie, but it probes into areas that a lot of people don't fear to tread these days. They fear to tread, or they might step on some toes. I was thinking about the prequels and Star Wars and everything like that, and think about how they actually portray organized religions in the prequels as like out of touch, completely tone deaf, and they get slaughtered because they can't see that the villain is like next door in the other office. Palpatine's over there going like, yes, tenting his fingers like Mr. Burns and something like that, going like, Darth, have you ever heard the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise? He's telling the biggest prospect in the entire Jedi army or whatever like that, telling him stories about Darth Plagueis the Wise, and because it is not a tale that the Jedi would tell you. And he's like going, like, listen to this stuff, and like, they still don't know. They still can't figure out that Palpatine's the guy who's behind all this stuff. Boy. But I think it's great, because it really is like, you seldom see, you get, movies like Spotlight and stuff like that, kind of, will, in a minor way, to kind of take on various aspects of the injustices within organized religions and stuff like that, but not to the extent where just bashing the hell out of the idea of organized religion. And the Jedi, in the middle of the prequel trilogy, Attack of the Clones, Yoda's is telling Anakin Skywalker that you can't care about anything. You can't care about anything? What kind of stupid-ass, dumb, stupid religion is where you can't care about anything? Because caring leads to fear. Fear leads to hate. Hate leads to the dark side. And the dark side leads to long, involved tales of Darth Plagueis the Wise. It's not a tale that Jedi would tell you. Princess Amidala. Anyway, so, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not going to do it. I'm not, down for any of that stuff. I've been doing everything I can to make the world a better place, not a bitter place. Better, not bitter. Different, slightly. All right, but before we get into it, unfortunately, we got to, go through this. Everybody knows it's, time to pay the bills with some commercials. Now available for the holiday season. Remember, Christmas is never more than 364 days away, so why not purchase for the whole family the Fox News Channel home game? Now you can create propaganda disguised as news and utilize the big lie concept to out the non-believers and create a fountain of hatred and misinformation to keep the herd mollified. Your Roger Ailes and Karl Rove has just turned over the blockbuster video of Obama in college that Andrew Breitbart guaranteed would blow a hole right through the back of the Obama re-election campaign in 2012. But the tapes are dead. Should you cut to one of the many GOP presidential candidates that you keep on staff year-round for a rapid topic segue into health insurance death panels, or should you bring in the circus freak that shoots BBs out of their pee hole? You rolled to snake eyes. That means your top British correspondent just got caught systematically bribing a bunch of policemen to turn the other way while they were hacking into the cell phones and listening to the cell phone messages of private citizens, even after they bought off Hugh Grant. I'm just a girl standing in front of a man, telling her she wants some backdoor shenanigans. Gotta love that movie. You gotta go testify before Parliament. Lose one turn. The laughs, the lies never cease with the Fox News Channel home game. Can you dig it? Woo! And the Fried World of Sports coming up on Saturday morning must-see TV. Where you have to get fail drug tests to qualify. The Fried World of Sports. They're actually coming up with a league where it's something like that, or Olympics or something like that, where you have to take drugs to compete. Like, you have to take the roids and the performance-enhancing drugs and the Sudafeds. And you don't have to mask it or nothing. You can do be Lance Armstrong can maybe have a comeback. Get all roided up and juiced. Maybe try to see if you get an artificial. You think do they have artificial ball implants for poor Lance? Poor Lance, the uniballer. Hitler was a uniballer. Did you know that? Hitler was a uniballer. No kidding, really? Yeah. And how come they don't make more about, like, Ava Braun? I mean, sitting there, Hitler's side piece, like, you think you would have made an honest woman out of her earlier. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, an interesting area of discussion. Perhaps we can, the Fried World of Sports. Get drugged up and, cheat your way to. I remember also when the Olympics used to be all amateurs and stuff like that, where you couldn't be a professional, so you couldn't have the dream team back then. And it was a big, sort of ratings boost when they were able to do that, and clearly that was all about. A little bit cha-ching. So, I mean, now you get, I don't know, your professional clean and jerkers and your broad jumpers. Jump broads? What is it? Also, from the producers of The Land of the Lost, now comes The Gland of the Lost, sexual tales of explorers and whatnot. Al Franken's and Louis Gossett Jr. And from the producers of The Newlywed Game, now comes The Gnarly Weed Game, a takeoff on the Newlywed Game for stoners. There's a lot of we've gotten a lot of letters complaining about the lack of drug-influenced comedy that we present on Top 10 Worst of Lists. And so I'm doing everything I can to. Ooh, look what you got going on there. It's not the, remember, it's not the length always, it's the thickness. Oh, the Hatpack of from the producers of the Hunchbacks of Notre Dame. Now comes the Hatpack of Notre Dame. A story about Paul Horning or something. I don't know. Some Hatpack from Notre Dame. Who gives a rat's ass? It's the Hatpack of Notre Dame, and then also from the producers of the Hatpack of Notre Dame. Now comes the Hatchback of Notre Dame. It's a 5-door economy car with a hatchback, and it's the Hatchback of Notre Dame. And then from the producers of the Hatchback of Notre Dame. I don't have another one, actually. I wrote down the Hatchback of Notre Dame twice on my list. I think I was hitting the crack pipe a little too hard before I did today's episodes. The Hunchback of Notre Dame Edna. That's what it was. Sorry to laugh. I don't mean I'm in so much pain all the time. Look at the hair. Look at that crazy guy with the hair, Mommy. Why does he do that? He's insane, son. He's not worth the plastic he's printed on. And then finally, the Inch Who Hold Christmas. From the producers of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, now comes the Inch Who Hold Christmas. sort of kind of like a combination of Hedwig and the Angry Inch meets the Grinch. It would be a funny one if do a Hedwig and the Angry Grinch. And, so he's like, they're all singing down there, la dee da doo, and everything. That's Christmas Day, and the Grinch has stolen all their prophylactics and AZT cocktails. And they're sitting there, they can't have anything to do. And all of a sudden, they're like going like, they're still singing, and you know what it was, they say? That the Hedwig and the Angry Grinch's pud grew 5 sizes that day. It's magical. God damn it. Can we have a little bit of magic in the world? What the hell's wrong with you? Was that too, like, sort of like, did I make that too much about, because it's like, you could have like, backdoor biddies or something like that, make the scene with the angry Hedwigs and stuff. I mean, it could have been a variety of different sexual orientations in that. I know I went straight for gay jokes in that one, but that's because Hedwig, and it's mostly like I don't know. I mean, Hedwig, it's weird. What's that? I mean, it clearly had romances and that stuff that were posed in a way that would make people think that it was. But I don't know. It's trans. I don't know. Anyway, so they have some backdoor biddies where they get grannies who are looking to get their boxes stuffed with 1 inch is better than no inch philosophy, armed to the teeth, to the false teeth, with embarrassingly impervious to gag reflexes. The backdoor biddies, backdoor biddy committee, Hedwig and the Angry Grinch. Sorry. All right, let's get on with the goddamn list already. I'm embarrassing myself once again. Wouldn't you know it? Now, I just want to remind people that this is, you might not know it by looking at me or listening to me talk or getting a sense of the subject matter of what I delve into. But Top 10 Worst of Lists is one of the most respected Top 10 Worst of Lists. Let me just go through a few of the Top 10 Worst of Lists that we've had, in the last few weeks or so. Top 10 Worst horse breeds for dog food. Top 10 Worst Things to Say at a World War II memorial service. Top 10 Worst Greek Gods to Blaspheme. And Top 10 Worst Times to Eat Your Family to Save on Christmas Gifts. So, this is a well-respected, these are the intellectual equivalent of hallowed grounds. Or coffee grounds, or whatever kind of grounds. Vegan grounds? Yum! I love a good vegan ground. But, Morningstar, what the hell is up with Morningstar? Right? Morningstar? Are you kidding me? Why do they have breakfast sausages that are named after Lucifer? Something's weird is going on. What's up with all these tattoos? All these weird people getting like full body tattoos. It's not like one little thing on the ankle or a little tramp stamp or anything like that anymore. No, it's like people getting massive, and this like a lot of them are sort of the charges being lived by these, artificially manufactured superstars and old school superstars. Have you seen the body art on the back of Ben Affleck? And he was like 75 years old when he got it. All of a sudden he gets this big, elaborate, crazy ass body art on Ben Affleck. Something weird is going on in society, and all these lizard people and everything like that. Benedictine Cumberbatch, and Mark Zuckerberg, and Lauren Sanchez. All these, God, I'm gonna list them all. I'm getting close to listing them all. But no, we're infiltrated by people that don't look human. Tom Holland doesn't look human. Is that pallid complexion, the high cheekbones, everything like that. These look like people who are wearing. Jenna Bush Hager whose great-grandfather was Hitler's banker laundering money for Hitler over at Union Bank over there when they got shut down in 1942 after mutual war was declared between Nazi Germany and America and the United States. And they got shut down because they were laundering money for Hitler's. What? And the great-grandfather of Hitler's banker is the host of Today's Show, the most popular morning show in the goddamn freaking universe. Something's weird's going on. This is not just your grandfather's hostile takeover of the human race. It's something much more evil and river troll vibes. All right, so top 10 worst alternate uses for football teams. And this is where you take football teams in the off season and put them to work, do some stuff. Don't just sit around, play video freaking games, all that, and marry Taylor Swift and Madison Square Garden. Rotten, spoiled douchebag owners who are, sort of making big money moves on the off season and stuff like that. That's when they do a lot of their heavy lifting to fix the games and the drafts and the schedule and all that thing, and make sure that they get all the rules changed. The owners do whatever little bit of work that they do. It's in the off season to again fix the draft and all that stuff. But the players are just kind of chilling. So look, they should be more than happy to go out and do some good in the world. And, we need to facilitate that. Number 10 of the top 10 worst alternative uses for football teams: to clean up the neighborhoods and beat the crap out of litter bugs. Like, seriously, go after them. Go after their families. People like that, you see, they got signs around to please don't be a litter bug, please look after yourself. People are just like total slobs. People don't give a rat's ass about it. They're so dehumanized and so put upon by a society that just everybody's out for themselves, especially from the leaders that they see everywhere in our society, and the cultural mechanisms and distribution, everything like that. All those guys are rotten, spoiled jerk-offs. Taylor Swift comes up with 43 something different colored vinyls to soak the hell out of her fans and everything like that. See, that's a cultural hero now. Like, people look up to Taylor Swift, and she's doing that to her fans. 43 different colored vinyl albums for Dead Poets Society or Dead Poet Department or whatever the hell it was. I just don't get it. Sitting everybody's people looking at those things, and that's what we're supposed to look up to. These rotten, greedy bastards. They see the same thing everywhere. It's not just her. You got all the politicians, everything like that, are always getting busted for doing something weird or greedy or sick, and stuff like that. And you've got where you turn to have somebody in society that's got a mainstream level of visibility that's not just a rotten jerk-off sellout. Nowhere. The answer is nowhere. So why wouldn't people litter? Why would people care about it themselves, about their role in society, about being a decent human being? Once in a while, not all the time, just once every couple of years, and stuff like that. So much evil in the world. Well, we got to send out the football teams, everything like that. If you can get not just the NFL professional teams, you could get NFL Europe, you could get all the college teams and everything like that. Get them all out there working. Who's gonna get in the way of a football player or team, an entire team that's out there, cleaning the roads or anything like that, doing some good and getting rid of graffiti, doing graffiti buster football teams and stuff like that. It'd be great. People wouldn't like these big giant bruisers. Like, some of them are like 7'3" and weigh 500 pounds and stuff like that, and they still can do a 40-yard dash in 2 seconds flat. And so nobody's going to be bugging them or anything like that. People aren't going to get wigged out and try to boost their cars or anything like that. It's like the entire football team comes down on you, beat the hell out of you until you're just like a splat on the road, like just a puddle of viscera. It's so great, man. So it's the perfect solution. And that's not really hard work. You'd have your usual, entourage and stuff like that, and all the best. They'll have on the side. They'll have like little tables, like craft services. Except it'll be, the owners. You get to the owners to pony up some of the good stuff. That they get munching out on those luxury boxes that we built for them while they're looking down at us. Aren't they filthy? I wouldn't. Oh my God! One of them tried to get into our country club the other day. Oh my God! No, yeah. And you'd be like, oh my God! And so maybe they could pony up some lobster tails or something like that, or maybe some of that sweet foie gras. or croissant. You love Mother Russia, don't you? Let's get it on. So it's like, it's like, I get it. But nobody's going to get, like, in the way of that stuff. That's going to be a train wreck for anybody who tries to, dish on any of those football guys. Number 9 of the top 10 worst alternative uses for football teams to protect people on public transportation and beat the crap out of the troublemakers. Am I right? I mean, no. Okay, so there's a lot of people getting violated on public transportation. And it's not just the crime. It's just all the disgracefulness of it, the demand spreading and whatnot, and the volume control on some of their headsets. It's not just the crimes. It's also like the disrespect for your fellow human beings. But you get some football teams going on some of the major, sort of municipal public transportation options. And you split them up, you put the defense on the north-south line, the red-pink line, blue. And then you put you get a few hockey players maybe to pitch in on the public transportation stuff. And, like put them in the full gear and whatnot. And somebody tries to, take a seat of some, in front of some pregnant lady. And then you have one of the hockey guys that throw down the gloves and stuff like that and start to bash his head in. And like wham, wham, wham against the pole, like the little pole that you hold on to. Stuff like that. Next time you give up your seat for a pregnant lady. And stuff, and they walk out looking like a bloody freaking mess. Like they just went 10 rounds with whatever MMA guy. Just like Ronda Rousey. That's the only one I'm sorry. Oh, they got that other guy, that jerk, that the Irish guy. It's weird. Ireland, after all the cultural importance that Ireland has had in the United States and jobs and movies and everything, really, there's only 4 million people that live in Ireland. I was shocked when I heard that. I was like, 4 million freaking people? That's it? That's astounding to me. I mean, nothing bad about it. It's great, everything like that. But I think it's just the cultural weight, heft of Irish culture is so much outsized based on the amount of population, indigenous population of the Ireland community. Number 8, top 10 worst alternative uses for football teams to teach bullies the true meaning of Christmas. Sorry, I don't mean to be like, because I know like it would trigger all the mega reactionaries, fundamentals, jerk-offs and stuff like that. He said Xmas. Go get a rope. Or whatever. Like, these people need to really take a chill pill. Okay? Like nobody's trying to step on your right to have, to obliterate people that you disagree with fundamentally or don't like their skin color. I just want to keep, reminding you as much as possible that we're all pink on the inside. So if you like, excuse me, if you don't like people outside of their skin, why don't you try to turn it inside out. Turn everybody's skin inside out. Maybe we could get the football teams to help out with some of that stuff and turn out some of the MAGA people who don't like are beating up on, people of color or anything like that, or some of the ICE people or anything like that. Have the football teams go up against them and turn them inside out, saying like, "See, we're all pink on the inside." And then maybe that's what it's going to take to teach them lessons, because you never really learn about having everything easy going and sort of but you wouldn't need to worry about the fact that white collar criminals can buy their way out of trouble either through having I've got skin flakiness up the yin yang. White collar criminals buying themselves out of trouble, getting presidential pardons and everything like that. It's like not hardly any white collar criminals ever serve any real time or any hard time, and maybe it'd be a good thing to maybe kind of just eliminate that whole segment of punitive justice, because it's all smoke and mirrors, it's all blowing smoke up people's skirts. It's nothing really happening with that. Instead, introduce like really severe, torturous capital punishment for white collar criminals only. So like if you've got like Mark Rich or somebody like that who's clearly dealing from the bottom of the deck and making sort of some of the January 6th, I'm sorry, January 6th, guys, you thought you were fighting for freedom. You stormed the freaking Capitol with no real purpose whatsoever, with no proof whatsoever about the whatever happened in the 2020 election. Whatever happened in the 2020 election was on Trump's watch. Trump was president. He's the one that blew it. You should riot against him, not against the stupid. I buy, the idea that, these guys are all a bunch of liars and cheats and are keeping a bunch of secrets from us, and really probably do deserve to get called out and whatnot, but it's a disgrace for the whole country that they have to live through. If you want to prosecute some of these people, get a goddamn organization that can investigate the government. That's not the government. I mean, that's the problem right there. It's, you're putting Band-Aids on symptoms when you're not even looking at the problem. Stop letting the government be the only organization to investigate itself when they are probably involved with the crimes that are going on. They're certainly not releasing enough information about what the truth is of the situation. What was all those files that Trump was hiding down in Mar-a-Lago? What was in them? If we're not going to get to prosecute for him, we should be able to get to know what was in those files and why it was such a big deal, and what he was keeping them from returning them to the government with such a heavy-handed way, and why they got like a special handpicked judge who I don't think even really exists. Has anybody seen any picture of Eileen Cannon other than the one that they keep showing over and over again with her looking with the hair? Hi, I'm Eileen Cannon. I'm not just craziness. And she won't let the case go forward. She won't let the case get heard. Why not? What's the point? What are they hiding? Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. Teach bullies the true meaning of Christmas. See there? I said Christmas. Anybody happy now? You happy? Yeah, so you get beat the tar out of like a bunch of people who are bullies and everything like that. You might have to go to the street level on this so that people can feel safe. Why should we, after all this time and all this, by and large, people who have tons of money and affluence, and they have privatized police forces in Chicago and Bucktown and Wicker Park to keep those rich people safe and everything like that, while the rest of us just get our asses handed to us. Over and over again, crime sprees. They got a gang somehow with all these cameras and GPSs in our phones and our cars and everything like that. They have crime sprees from gangs that rob 4 or 5 places in one night, and they can't pick up on who they are and where they're going. I mean, none of it makes any sense, and except for the obvious, which is rapidly becoming that they want these criminals to succeed because it's in effect ruining the lives of small businesses and the middle class, and just absolutely obliterating them. And then the box stores will just come mop up all the market share, like gravy with the Hawaiian roll. It all starts with safety. Everything that we could be, everything that we could project, everything that we can create in this world, all starts with safety. And safety is a double-edged sword. Some of it comes from the fact that there's got to be some sort of resource in our society that helps maintain, civility and everything like that. But there's also got to be like a society that's worth living in, that's worth valuing, that you begin to value yourself within that society and within yourself, so that you don't want to throw it all away on some sort of cheap thrill or, feeling like the only way that you've got to be making your way in the world is to steal from others. What do you think? How do you think it's going to get solved? Innocent people, kind people, wonderful people, hardworking people are getting shattered. Their lives are being shattered by these prolific misanthropes who hate human beings. So, I mean, I think that it comes with safety. So if you bring some professional football teams in to kind of like keep people from getting a little heavy-handed with their projecting their own damages onto others, I think that would help. And then you can teach them like the true meaning of Christmas, which is, of course, buying a bunch of useless swag for people instead of being able to show them that you love them or help them find their way through this hateful and a different universe. Number 7 in the top 10 worst alternative for football teams. To beat the crap out of the heads of the big tobacco companies. See, that's what I was trying to talk about earlier. Instead of spending all this money on the legal system, because it never works on these rich people. It's all the whole Bill of Rights and everything like that. Was fine. You get freedom of speech, sure, why not? Give it to them. You can, plead the Fifth Amendment, yeah, but you can't do any of the things in the Bill of Rights without a lawyer. You can't. I mean, if somebody busts you for something like that, you can't defend your rights or anything like that without being able to have somebody who can really speak their language, the legalese that the entire legal system communicates with, and you need to have a lot of people who can really sort of effectively grease the right power brokers so that you don't get all tore up by the legal system, and it's out of reach of most people. But what you can do is you could save a lot of money is if you institute really harsh tortures for tobacco companies. Tobacco company execs. Look, they're killing people left and right. 500,000 Americans a year are dying every day from cigarette-related causes. And that's because they market to kids because they know that by the age of 15 that you become addicted by the age of 15. So that's why they market to kids. And then they infuse other tobacco products with a bunch of chemicals and make it impossible to be able to quit. So somebody needs to go in there and literally tear them limb from limb. And, flay their skin off, which is where you take the skin with a whip or some kind of corrosive and you whip them until their skin comes off. And that's a good one for tobacco executives. I'm serious. Because the minute you start doing that, all the crimes end. The minute you do that, within minutes, they'll stop marketing to kids. They'll take all the poisons and toxins out of the tobacco products and stuff like that. And it'll just be oh, okay, well, this is normal. The death rate of people from tobacco-related products would drop probably by 75% in 1 year. That's how bad these people are. And these people are mass murderers. And think about it. At $500,000 a year, and by the way, this has gone up since the Tobacco Omnibus Act was signed by Billy Clinton in 1999, who brought tobacco advertising and product placement back onto TV after years of it being ostracized from that medium. And so it's gone from $430,000 a year to $480,000 a year in the 20 years since Bill Clinton signed that bill. So thank you very much, you fake fifth column operative Republican right-wing jerk-off. And the thing is that, but you take, literally take them apart. They're supposed to, the Flying Eagle or something like that. Hang on a second. I got a few. Some of these things are just so sorry, but I'm getting an error. That means somebody just tuned out from. So they got the top 10 worst tortures. Worst tortures. Some of these things were so. I did this once before, and it was so sick. Top tortures. 14 punishments. Here we go. 15 punishments. Here's another good one. Flayed. That was, I just talked about that. Persian criminals were subjected to the boats. I don't know what's the boats. Buried and left to die. Buried alive. These are dumb. That's stupid. These were stupid. The rack. Jesus Christ. I mean, everybody's whitewashing this stuff. Drawn and quartered. That's pretty good. The brazen bull. Here we go. Invented ancient Greece around 6th century. The brazen bull was the hollow brown statue cast in the shape of a bull. The victim was locked inside, and a fire was lit beneath it. The metal heated. The person within was slowly roasted alive. That's what you do to tobacco executives, and you no longer have any chemicals or 500,000 Americans. That's just the American numbers alone dying every year from the boats. Actually is a pretty bad one. It's strapping the victim between two hollowed out boats with their limbs and head protruding, and they're force-fed milk and honey until they develop severe diarrhea and the mixture was applied to their exposed skin. The warmth and nutrition of the excrement attracted insects which began to breed and feed on the victim's flesh. Death came slowly from dehydration, starvation, and exposure, sometimes taking weeks. Bring it back, for white-collar criminals. I'm serious, because they'll never happen again. You won't need to worry about them getting off on a technicality. You won't have to worry about how much they could pay the high-priced lawyers and everything like that. They just instantly be put to death in one of the worst, most horrible ways possible. And all the rest of them be like, oh my God, I got to clean up my act. Immediately. No extra money spent, and you'd save money. Because you wouldn't have to have public defenders and stuff like that worrying about all these crazy white-collar crimes and whatnot. And these guys have had it coming for a long time. The Iron Maiden. Put them in the Iron Maiden. Belgis. No, wait, no. Ausgezeichnet. The Judas Cradle. Pyramid-shaped wooden or metal seat. The Judas Cradle is also called the Judas Chair. Was used extensively during the Inquisition and various European courts in the 19th century. The victim was suspended by ropes above the device and then slowly lowered onto its point. Good morning. I like a nice Judas Cradle. It's like a really intense coffee enema. The Heretic's Fork has got to be a good one. All the crazy named ones are always really completely... Okay, so the Heretic's Fork is a two-pronged metal fork attached to a strap around the neck. One set of prongs pressed against the underside of the chin, the other pressed against the sternum. Oh, boy. It was positioned so the victim's head drooped in exhaustion. The prongs pierced the flesh on both sides. Oh, so if you fall asleep, you impale yourself on the pronged fork. The multi-pronged fork. I had a multi-pronged fork one time back in college. I can't go on anymore, man. But you could have these football teams doing that stuff for us. You right? I mean, they're sitting around and doing nothing for 6 months out of the year. They're going to read the playbook again? Please. Number 6, top 10 worst alternative uses for football teams: to eat all the leftovers and keep good food from going to waste. Now, we throw away 30% of the food that we make for edibles. And I don't mean pot edibles. I mean for edibilization. Yeah, and that's a damn shame. But if we deploy football teams strategically and fly them around the country and have them eat all that stuff before it goes in the dumpster, this is a win-win. I'm telling you. Because the football players would be like, oh man, I get to get my grub on. And all the food that would have been just going into the dumpster gets eaten. Now, it's not ideal. I mean, we'd love to be able to get that food somehow to people who really need it or desperate for it, because there's 23,000 people who die from starvation-related causes in this world every freaking day. And so, I mean, it would be good if people would be able to do that. And, you could get any one of these multi-billionaires and things like that could probably take care of it in a year just out of their walking around money. But they're not doing anything. So, and society doesn't really give a rat's ass about 23,000 people a day dying from starvation-related causes, even though it should be the top story every day on the local and national news. But it never is. It's even a story buried under, on the 20th page of the newspaper. And nobody ever hears about that because that's the role of the media. The media is not to inform us, it's to keep us from being informed most oftentimes. That's the lie of what they do. It's that they're creating a forced perspective of the world so that we only get to hear about things that they want us to see and hear about, so that they can create a mentality and sort of complicity with the status quo. And that's just the way it is. So why not, employ football teams to just chow down? You can get some of the college teams too, and maybe some of the Pee Wee leagues, whatnot. Yeah. Semi-pro football. Number 5 of the top 10 worst alternative uses for football teams is in part sponsored by... Where was I? Oh, yes. it's it's a movie from the people who made it's a mad world. It's a small military industrial complex right at Disney. And there's no way to inspire the masses because the media is owned by the same people who own the politicians. But watch, as children around the world are blown up by cluster munitions and poisoned with white phosphorus and shrapnel from depleted uranium shells. It's a small military small magic wand inside their pants that makes them do all this stuff. And from the producers of Last Tango in Paris, now comes The Last Django in Paris. It's Jamie Foxx. Return performance as Django from the movie Django Unchained. He's a steamy love affair with Brunhilde. Star-crossed lovers. Doing all kinds of justice all throughout the world. His last Django in Paris. Or go to Paris for some reason. I don't know. Maybe to hang out. No. What else do people go to Paris for? And then there's from the producers of Last Django in Paris, now comes Last Tango in Paris Hilton. So, I mean, you could probably figure out whether that joke is going. And then, of course, Last Tango in Paris Hilton is part sponsored by the Last Wango Tango in Paris. Paris Hilton gets her last boning Moroni. All right, now back to the show. It's number 5. We made it all the way to number 5. How do you like that? To teach top 10 worst alternative uses for football teams, to teach truck drivers and Uber drivers how to go for 3 hours without having to go to the bathroom. Now, this is the thing that confounds me. I read a story the other day about how people were going to festival concerts and stuff like that, where they will actually just take a dump on the ground rather than go to the Porta Johns and lose their place in general admission festival setups and stuff like that. They will just drop a deuce right where they stand. And the performers are saying that they're doing that too, so they don't have to, mess up their flow. They go to avoid messing up the flow. Hepcat. But football players, they go for like 3 hours a game, and they've done 10,000 games or whatever in the last 15 years or so, or I don't know. But you never see a guy bend a fresh biscuit while he's bending over to hike the ball, and all of a sudden Tom Brady grabs onto a elongated, thick brown object, and it's not a football. Uh-oh. Man, I need a real... That one deserved a real freaking professional sound effect. How was that? Weird. Bad. It's a bad montage. Oh, damn. It's time for me to get up. Time to make the top 10 worst dev lists. Weird. Bad. Hello? Yes, this is top 10 worst dev lists. More drug humor? Okay. It's up to you. See you later. That was my uncle. All right, so anyway, top 10 truck drivers go for, like if you could cross train whatever it is that the football players are doing, there's got to be something to it. There's no way that every single player manages to go for 3 freaking hours without having to dump a road apple or two, or just lose it. What are they feeding these guys? Like, are they just nonstop, diuretics and whatnot the day before the game? You don't see any skid marks. You don't see anybody getting, like, socked, knocked out, completely knocked out, and just, the involuntary muscle reflex releases the bowels on the 50-yard line right over the Jacksonville Jaguars logo. So You go, to Uber drivers and truck drivers and such, and teach them how to get away with it. Here you go. Here's a couple of tips. It's got to be something to it. It's got to be some sort of drug or something. I don't know. Number 4, the top and worst alternative uses for football teams. And this is, again, football teams are getting 6 months off. So why not put them to use and help society? Society's full of needs and unrequited passions that can pave the way for just do the world a favor. Jesus, somebody do my hairdo a favor. So a little better. Act as drivers. Number 4 of the top 10 worst alternative uses for a football team. Act as drivers for human-powered bicycle cabs and public transportations. Right? Rickshaws. Right? And you could have bicycle-powered rickshaws with these football player guys, and they'd be getting their workout every day. It's no big whoop to them, and they're driving around and everything like that, and you could save a lot of pollutions and stuff. And you can put to use some of these giant concrete barricades stuff that spend millions upon millions of dollars that none of the bicycle people are paying for or using. Many of them, since most of them were built in northern cities, are going unused for 4 months out of the year because of the climate problems, clearing them up and stuff like that. And you got to get special street sweepers and cleaners to be able to clean these barricaded areas up because the regular street sweepers and everything like that are way too wide to be able to do it. It's a gigantic expense and burden from, Chicago itself specifically only has less than 1% of the people who own bicycles in the city. We spent hundreds of millions of dollars to build these barricaded. It's just taking away parking. It's a nuisance. And people, can't have disabled parking and stuff like that anymore because they're blocked by concrete barriers. It's insane. And you can't turn 18-wheeler trucks in the city, and you get now they got people spying on their neighbors. They can take a picture and send it in, and they can bust them for parking and stuff. It's crazy, and they build all these embankments that are jutting out into the streets and stuff like that. It's supposed to be we do it to slow traffic. You do it because you want to hurt the middle class, the working class people of your city. And you've been taking money, on the side under the table and stuff like that to be part of the Republican Party as a fifth column operative, you lousy bastards. At least the Republicans don't lie about it. They just admittedly just say, well, look, these corporations are the ones that are paying for my campaigns. So I can't do anything against them. Besides, what the hell do you care? It's only the poor people. That's the natural sort of campaign promises for a Republican politician and stuff like that. But the Democrat politicians are supposed to be representing the working class. At least that's the way, all of us, kind of thought it was supposed to be. And yet, they're doing all these things that are bankrupting all the big northern cities and stuff like that for nothing. You get nothing out of it. They're spending $6 billion to build a subway or a train line for 3 extra stops, and they got to build huge bridges over some of the busiest expressways in the Midwest and stuff like that to be able to do it. And people have no idea what they're in for. They're in for years worth of bumper-to-bumper traffic to try to get anywhere in the city or interstate commerce and trucks and everything like that. Against the hours upon hours of delays and whatnot and extra expenses and diesel fuel being what it is already at a record high. It's going to be madness. And there's already 2 train lines that run through the same area that they can spend a tenth of the money and zero amount of trouble in terms of inconvenience, especially compared to what they're really going to try to do. And, the $6 billion on top of it, most of it is going to foreign companies. So it's the biggest insanity of all time. And it's going to bankrupt the city. They have nothing to be able to do to really improve a failing railing system and everything like that that's already in place. So you got millions, maybe even billions worth of upgrades and safety measures that are already long past due. So on top of it, it's just the city's going to be bankrupt. And there's no way to be able to avoid it because these robber barons are all on each other's team. There is no representation for the working class in this world. Zero. So, at least you can get some football teams to drive around a bunch of bicycle-powered cabs and make some use out of it because God knows nobody's using them now. And that way, you could have some decent transportation and they can get in shape. What the hell's wrong with that? Number 3, the top 10 worst the alternative uses for a football team. To form power trios using their muscle power and tribute bands like Beefcake Rush or the 25-inch neck Hendrix Experience, Thick Nirvana, or Green Leg Day. It's just Leg Day. Or ZZ Trapezoids. ZZ Trap. Yeah. It's kind of weak. I didn't spend my usual time. I usually sit and think about these types of things. Okay, rate these lists. It takes me a half hour, something like that. I spent like 5 minutes on this one. Sorry. It's a woeful job that I've done with this particular line item, and I feel really, oh, geez. And on top of it, I scored a big, huge wet one. That one's going to take some cleanup. Cleanup on aisle 7. Where's the freaking thing that I wanted to get? Thank you very much. All right, number 2, the top 10 worst alternative uses for football teams. To slowly move coastal cities to higher ground before climate change melts the icebergs completely and floods all of the coastal cities. And, it's going to take a long time. But, you might as well get the football teams on it. Start moving some of the, outlier homes and stuff. So, maybe that's setting goals too high. I don't want to get people to be frustrated. Well, thus far, we've only been able to move 0.111111110% of Manhattan onto higher ground. We've been working at it for 10 years. All right, now the number 1 of the top 10 worst alternative uses for football teams. Putting football teams to work with societal beneficial tasks-oriented things for the 6 months that they don't play football. Use them as bouncers in the luxury boxes at stadium to keep all the rich parasite jagoffs out until they pay us back for building them. Yeah. I bet you, I don't know, but I bet you those my goddamn clappers all locked up. And he's the WZ's 40. And liberal doses of it on top of it. But I bet you anyway, the football teams would be happy, more than happy, to be able to punch a few owners in the throat as they try to force their way into the goddamn luxury boxes that we paid for. But anyway, that's all the time we've got for Top 10 Worst Of List. What an incredible time it's been. It's like just encouraging you to be able to just think about things in life a little bit differently. Try your best to be able to make life an adventure. Tuning in tomorrow, if I live long enough, I'll have another brand new Top 10 Worst Of episode. Visionary. I'm trying to do as many as I can before they come and get me. Who is it? It's the Thought Police. Oh, god damn, it's the Thought Police. I gotta get going. Tune in tomorrow. We got Top 10 Worst Halloween Candies to slip a razor blade into. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being... Oh, wait. Want to know one more